Hello, my name is Michela Abrams, founder of Mocha Plus. Welcome to our Collective Conscience series. We created this series for you to bring together great minds from around the world on myriad topics that we hope will expand your mind, will challenge your current beliefs, and give you an opportunity to be inspired with every video. Enjoy. Welcome to our 6th Collective Conscience Salon. I'm Michela Abrams, the founder of Mocha Plus, with my business partner, Shelley, Kieran. For those of you who have been joining us, you will know that usually Shelley does the introduction and then I do the interviewing. We have had so many amazing guest speakers, and the Connecting by Design that is the Mocha Plus mission statement, and it is our subline to Mocha Plus, is so poignant with regard to all these speakers. If you've missed any of them, we are recording them in the cloud. We are creating a YouTube channel, so you'll be able to go back and see these and see what amazing foundation for Connecting by Design they have really supplied for us. Wow. So welcome. Today, as you saw from your invitation, we are welcoming back Chef Rachelle Boucher, my dear friend and colleague of a little over a decade, who is talented. I loved the last time she was with us, a few people who don't even know each other said, wow, she's the next Rachel Ray, because of her energy, her storytelling, her optimism, and her amazing craft in putting food together in a way, and ingredients together in a way that really creates just pure joy. So we will be, Shelley and I really consider that Rachelle is the Mocha Plus official chef. And in so doing, you will then see Rachelle here about once a month, once every 6 weeks, with a great recipe, with a little bit more of a story and a context, and just a light, wonderful, fun way to start your week from 6 to 7 every Monday. Or for those of you in Mountain Time, well, I won't go through every time zone and where you are, you know who you are and what time, given Pacific Daylight Time, that you'll be chiming in. So today, Shelley is going to be taking us through our Collective Conscience Salon and finding our superpower on May the 4th be with you. And the reason, other than that she's really brilliant at this anyway, but I just never give her a chance to get a word in edgewise, as most of you know me, that Shelley is doing this is because it's my brother's 26th birthday. So I'm going to celebrate with Taylor, and I'll be back and letting you all enjoy your salon, and I will be back at the end to say thank you and to tell you all about next Monday. So Rachelle, without further ado, take it away.
Hi everyone, good to see you back. Hi Drew, I can't wait, we'll talk about the wine part. But yes, it is Star Wars Day. I got a bunch of texts today because people know it's one of my favorite holidays. But I wanted to, I think, throw it to Shelley. You might have had like a little something to start us off, and then I can tell you a little bit about maybe you'll hit a little bit of background, and then I want to tell you what I'm making. It's all farmers market time. I mean, it always is, but spring. We're going to talk a little bit about that because that's a superpower for sure. And then I'll tell you what recipe we're doing. So I'll chat with Shelley for a little bit.
Yeah, you really would be the next. You're the perfect Rachel Ray, or even better. You're just
I like her. She's pretty brilliant.
Hello, everybody, and I'd like to welcome our first international our first international participant, Mika, who's joining us from Japan, and she's a friend of yours, Rachelle. Is that right?
Well, Drew and Mika, you guys are my LinkedIn community, and you know, I love LinkedIn. It's amazing. It's a community where you can meet people from all around the world. I'm lucky enough to have met her in real life, and Drew, we're next. As soon as this social distancing is done, we got to hang out.
Yeah.
What an honor. It's an honor.
So am I muted? What?
No,
Okay.
you're not. You can,
Okay. Yeah. So hi, Rachelle. Hi, everybody. So yeah, I'm joining from Japan. So yeah.
we're
Yeah,
thrilled
we
to
met.
have you.
Yeah. So actually, I'm doing kind of, I'm running Japan specialty food project in San Francisco, and I met Rachelle last year, and we share a lot of you know culinary kind of stories, and so I was I'm of course here in Japan, I'm in quarantine for a long time, and then so I really like to connect people, and I, and I'm staying home ever than before now. So I like to enjoy cooking, and I like to know more variety of recipes, even not only Japanese cuisine, but also any other international cuisine. So yeah, I'm joining here today. So yeah,
I love
I'm
it.
looking forward to
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah,
Wow.
thank
Oh,
you.
it's so wonderful. It's wonderful to have you. Welcome. And if you
Yeah,
put your
thank you.
contact information in the chat, if
Yeah,
you'd like,
yeah,
and
yeah.
we'd be happy. So I'm just going to mute you just as for protocol. But thanks, Mika.
Great.
Okay, so Rachelle,
Yes.
finding your superpower. You were born with your batteries charged, sister.
Yeah.
So tell us about. I'm really interested to hear about the time at which you actually went into turbo. That's what was the shifting point with your superpower?
Well, there's been many, but and a lot of reinvention. I mean, Drew knows this. Being a chef is not the easiest road. So there's a lot of times where you have to reinvent. And as a chef, though, I started out, well, I was for many years a private chef. And so what fun. I had told several of you last time I was discovered and honored to become the private chef for filmmaker George Lucas. So this was long enough ago that he was filming the episode 1, the sort of second of the series. So that was incredibly fun. And I definitely had to dig into some superpowers then. And one really fun situation, I'll tell you about it as we go, because we're going to cook as well. But not only just finding out what families like and foods that they enjoy and what's seasonal. I mean, I know in terms of superpowers, if you go to the farmer's market, which not everybody can do, as a chef, I'm always going there and I'm looking and like what looks incredible and delicious that people are going to fall in love with just from the freshness and the taste. So part of my superpower is seeking out gorgeous ingredients, but kind of anyone can do that. The other thing is just sort of adapting to any situation at all. And as a private chef, I have to do that a lot. You just never know what's going to happen on any given day. So that's always fun. And I definitely had to dig into my bag of tricks. But speaking of that, I was at the farmer's market on Sunday yesterday, and I found some beautiful things. We're in spring. So first I'll tell you what we're going to make. I'll start making some of it, and then I'll tell you a really funny story about a superpower, cape. I have a real cape. So yeah, so we're gonna do pizza today. And the irony is, I know how hard it is to get flour. I understand. I know it's really hard to find pizza dough right now. Yeast, who knew, right? That these things would become these precious commodities. I refuse to hoard anything, but I do have great relationships with my grocers. I've been thanking them for years before this all happened. And now I'm really, really, really nice to my grocery store and farmers market people. So they'll let me know when a little flour comes in. It's like a secret deal. So today I'm gonna make a flatbread pizza. This can be done in so many ways. So you can do a fresh dough. What I'm gonna actually do is I'm gonna use a prepared dough, because I found with a lot of my clients, they get the prepared dough where either at Trader Joe's or Whole Foods. It's usually like this, 1 pound. It's either fresh or frozen. And then when they try to use it, there's a lot of difficulty, a lot of struggle. It's not as easy as you think. If you want to do this just on a prepared naan bread or something like that, do it. But the recipe that I'm going to do right now is with fava beans, or you can skip them. This is a lot of work. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it's minted pea and fava puree on a pizza. And the mint, the peas, the fava together, it creates a wonderful, wonderful flavor. So I'll show you a little bit about working with the dough, the prepared doughs, and then I'm going to make the puree, which has a ton of iterations. Talk about superpower. Oddly enough, a pea puree is something that maybe doesn't sound that sexy. It is a fantastic thing to have in your repertoire, and I'll explain why as we go. I love knowing how to make this, and there's a lot you can do with it. So shall we get started? Any questions that crop up right now? Anything we should start with?
Not yet. Why don't you tell us what all of that beautiful green you have in front of you?
I know, right? These are my pea shoots. So I went to at the farmer's market. One of our other guests we share the same sprouts in our and she showed me her sprouts. So I've got pea sprouts, pea shoots here, and these are actually basil shoots. And I got them from Alchemy. It's a farm, a tiny little kind of farm in Marin, actually, in San Geronimo. And they sell you the whole thing of sprouts, and you just cut them as you go. I also have fava beans. These have a very, very short season. They're huge. The thing about favas is there's a ton of prep. So yes, food is a labor of love, but there's a lot of work. So when you go back to a restaurant, when the restaurant's open again, next spring, when you get favas, every time I get a dish that has fava beans, I think how much that person cares, because it's a lot of love. I had 2 pounds of fava beans, because they're huge. And then if you open them up, they've got this fuzzy interior. It's kind of this very crazy spongy thing. And if you strip down slowly like that, kind of is like a little zipper, right? And then they've got this fuzzy inside. And then you actually have to even peel this. It's a lot of work. The way to do it is you shell or shuck all of these, and then I drop them into salted boiling water, and then you can just squeeze them right out of the shell. But it's a ton. So I'm not kidding, like 2.5 pounds is about this size, and literally you get that much. It's a lot of work. Also, if you don't want to use favas in the puree, it's 3/4 cup of the peas and 3/4 cup of the shelled favas. If you don't want to do that, you can just use all peas. We're going to talk about that. So there's a lot of choices. So those are all my fun things in front of me here. Okay?
Okay,
So,
and we have a couple of questions.
yes, what would you like to know?
Which farmer's market did you mention? You mentioned which farmer's market you like?
Sure. Well, Bailey, I know Bailey, you and your mom get these beautiful greens from the Marin market. Amazing. My husband Rob and I go to the market here in Stonestown. So we live in Pacifica, and it's just 10 minutes from here. So, and they're also there on Sundays. They conquer and divide and conquer.
And could you just quickly name those as basil sprouts, and then what were the others?
Yes,
the other sprouts?
these are tiny little basil sprouts, and these are pea shoots or pea tendrils. They're beautiful. Lovely. Okay, so time for dough. Okay, so with prepared dough, it's really tricky because you have to thaw it out. It doesn't usually take that long, but prepared dough is really, really stretchy. And it can be a little bit difficult. And often people will try to take this whole 1 pound piece and make one pizza out of it. That's way too much, and you end up with really a thick piece. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually show you how to do a pizza in a skillet, or you could certainly do it in the oven. If I'm doing pizzas in the oven, I'm going to cut this into 2, so 1/2 pound of dough. If I'm doing it in a skillet, I'm going to do 1/3, because otherwise it kind of gets larger than your skillet. So I'm working this as oiled dough. It's completely thawed and at room temperature. That's a huge thing, because otherwise this is really hard to work with, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start to form it. And once you start working with dough, pizza doughs, any kind of wheat dough, they start to get really stretchy. You are actually activating the gluten strands. That's your wonderful protein that lives in here. Not wonderful if you don't eat gluten, so I get that. I do a lot of gluten-free stuff as well. But you're going to start working the dough, and the trick is I'm just sort of pushing with my fingers outward at the thickest part of the dough and just really stretching from the inside. I don't do like fancy throwing. I've never worked in a pizza parlor before, but I'm just going to do it like this. And then after a while, it starts to get really stretchy and sort of fights back. So what I have to do is let it sit and rest. And I'm working on parchment paper just because it's going to make my life a little bit easier and I don't get my board all greasy. So I kind of like that. So I'm going to just do this and just let it rest for a little bit and go back and stretch it. And I usually do that 2 or 3 times. And that's going to allow me to stretch the dough out, let the dough actually literally relax. Those proteins now are very tightly formed. The dough is now going to relax. Those proteins will relax, and you can go back in and work it again. So who knew, right? So we'll let that sit for a little bit. Cool. So I wanted to tell you, as I get ready to make the puree, I want to tell you a fun story of when I kind of really turbocharged, particularly at the Lucases. There was a really fun, the Lucases were going to, the Lucas family, George and the brood, were going to Australia. And what happened was the nanny forgot her passport, okay? So what do? You gotta call the chef, of course. So they called me up and they're like, we have an assignment for you. I said, what? Aren't you guys supposed to be on the plane? They needed me to break into her apartment, through a window, get her passport, and get it to the airport on time. Da-da-da-da. Pretty funny, right? It was hilarious. So hold that thought. I'm going to start making this. So I have a few leftover plastic containers from back in the day, in my chef days. I try not to do too much plastic, but if you have it, use it, right? Now I'm going to make this puree, and this pea and fava, or only pea puree, depends on what you want. I'm going to start with a little bit of water, probably about 2 tablespoons, and I'm going to leave it kind of thick and chunky. The other thing that goes into this, which is exceptional, is I have sherry vinegar. This is a wonderful, and a piece of mint. There you go. I have sherry vinegar here. This one's huge. You don't need one this big, but this is Don Bruno. I like this a lot. It's so huge though. I went to put it away in the cupboard the other day and the lid wasn't on and I dumped it all down my shirt.
Sure you did, Rachelle.
Not winning. That's not a good smell. So I'm going to do
we have a burning question here,
yes.
Which is what are you going to do with the rest of that pizza dough?
Oh, quite a few things. So we'll talk about it. I promise I'll get back to that when I talk about dough. So a little bit of water. I'm going to do 2 teaspoons of sherry vinegar. That has a fantastic flavor profile with the other ingredients. I have a clove of garlic. Now, what's so tricky about garlic is it's every size in the world. What's a clove, right? This one was so huge that I cut it in half, but you can always add more if you'd like. I am going to then put in my lovingly peeled fava beans. What you want to do is make sure that you cook them so that they're very soft. Otherwise, the puree just becomes really starchy. So you want them to be really soft and they kind of fall apart, okay? And then the peas. I did the same thing with the fresh peas. I shelled all of these, but you can also buy them like this at the farmer's market. Look, $5. They're very, very fresh. Places also, Trader Joe's, things like that, they will have them. But the tricky thing is peas lose their sweetness very quickly. They really become starchy very, very fast. So if they're already shucked, it's a real 50-50 chance, unless you get them at the farmer's market, that they're still sweet. Now, another trick that you can do is frozen peas. They're delicious and they're sweet, and you actually don't even need to cook them. So these peas I cooked for about 2 minutes in boiling salted water. So they got nice, they were already quite tender. These, you just thaw them out, right? So if you're ever in a jam, bust out those peas. Most people have them in their freezer, right? Pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We're gonna do a little bit of salt. And then about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. This is a nice quality extra virgin. All right, and then I'm going to blend it up. Does everybody have one of these? They're awesome. Stick blender. I love these things. You can blend anywhere. So I'm just gonna go down into it and blend away. This is exceptional for crostini. You can leave it really chunky like this, or you can make it like this and just toss it on pasta. Leave it kind of really thick and chunky. I'm gonna go a little bit softer, and we will blend it all up.
Rachelle, do you know, I'll wait till you finish. Do you know if they make, have you ever seen frozen fava beans? I've never seen frozen fava beans.
Almost never. There's almost very rarely frozen fava beans. You can sometimes get them in Middle Eastern restaurants, but there's not a huge call for fava beans except in the spring when the chefs see them and they buy them all up. So they're not that popular as something that people seek, but I have seen them in like Middle Eastern restaurants. So
Lima beans I've seen.
Yes, and their lima beans have a much flatter taste to them. No offense, lima beans. I know you get a lot of bad press. What's so exceptional is the flavor of the peas and the favas blend so beautifully with the sherry vinegar. It's just one of those, it becomes super umami. It just has, which is that fifth flavor that, speaking of Japan, that fifth flavor of really, really savory. So you get the sweetness of the peas and then that real rich umami flavor, which I love. So I'm gonna add a little tiny bit more salt and a tiny bit of, little bit more water. Any questions right now?
No, just some love for the immersion blender.
Some love for that?
Yep.
Love it. I use it all the time. I don't even have a regular blender.
Did you put mint in there with the peas?
Not yet. That's what I do last. So you can blend mint into this if you'd like, and I'll talk about that. But what I'm gonna do is briefly chop up some mint. So to store your mint, what I do is I store it in water like this and just a little damp cloth on top, or if you have a plastic bag that you're saving that you can reuse, you can put that on top. If it's just in water, it actually tends to fade out, which is kind of funny. So I'm gonna just chop up, I've already chopped a bunch of mint, but just quickly, I'll show you this trick. So mint and basil are from the same, they're cousins, a similar family, and they really don't like to be chopped all up in bits. They can really turn kind of bruised and it changes the color. So I'm going to take the dry and clean leaves, roll them up, and just give them a slice. And that is called chiffonade or ribbons. And it just gives you a very clean look and a clean flavor. And I've already done quite a bit. Now this small amount, this makes a little bit more than a cup. It can actually handle all, this is a 1/4 cup, not super packed, lightly packed of basil chiffonade, and it can really handle that much. Now, if you want, this puree is extraordinary as it is. You can blend it as much as you want. Mine is, it's sort of, you'll see as I spread it, it's a little bit chunky, but not too much. You can also put the basil in, blend the whole thing, and add in a little bit of creme fraiche, maybe loosen it a little bit, and then make a very, very soft and creamy puree, and it's beautiful. So you can use this as a topping on pizza, as something on crostini, or you can use it as a base for shrimp or fish or chicken. Sub out potatoes, and it's delicious. And I'm telling you, it's like, oh gee, someone's here, I've got to make some food. Grab out the frozen peas. So I think it's a flavor profile that's pretty simple, or it's something that's really simple to put together. Ideal in spring, but you can use it kind of anytime you'd like. So any questions on the puree?
How long does it keep? How long does it keep?
You know, I have actually kept it. The thing is, it can get a little dark. It's not like guacamole where it's going to get really dark on the top, but I have floated a little olive oil on the top of it to preserve it a little bit longer. Gosh, I have kept this at least 3 days that I can think of. I usually don't keep it very long because you can use it for so much stuff. And it makes a wonderful, it's really wonderful on the plate because you can plop it in and do that fancy chef, swoosh, and it looks beautiful, and the color is gorgeous. So this as a base for something like a beautiful piece of, like I said, shrimp or salmon where you've got all that color together, it's really nice. It screams spring, right?
And can you mess with the greens a little bit? I mean, I imagine not cilantro, but you could do parsley maybe, or some of the other. You can mix and match greens a bit, can't you? Besides basil?
Oh, absolutely. You can herb it up in so many ways. What I like is, however, because mint is really strong, it's not always going to be something that you can use a lot of. In this case, it just happens to work really well. And there's a real nice marriage of flavors. So yes, you can use whatever you want, but just know that a pea puree is an exceptional thing to have around. So I'm going to use just a little bit of flour. I'm going to put some down on my board and then scoot it out of the way. And then we're just going to start to sort of continue forming this dough. And it takes, like I said, takes a little bit of time. And I'm going to, again, stretch it. So as I was telling you, I got to break in to the nanny's apartment with her on the phone. This was quite a while ago. They told me how to get in through her bedroom window. It felt very sneaky. I got her passport. I locked myself properly back out of her apartment and drove like crazy to San Francisco Airport. I rushed in, they rushed out. I handed her the passport. Da-da-da-da. They were so grateful. They made that very expensive first class flight to Australia. And I was a little bit of the hero for the week, which was really fun. So yes, there are lots of times where I had to pull on quite a bit of my chefy superpowers. And if that includes breaking into places, which I don't normally do.
With permission.
It was with permission and on demand. But why did they call it a chef? I don't know. Do we have a
Adaptable,
reputation?
possibly that you're adaptable.
Very, very adaptable. And, small. Maybe they know I could get in. Scrappy. Cool. So now I've got my little dough. We're stretching it out. And you can see now it's loosened up. It's giving up a little bit more of its shape, which is wonderful. And again, this is just about a third of it. Now what I'll do with the remaining dough is I'll make them into pre-formed doughs like this. So I'm going to cook them off. This one I did in the oven, and I'll tell you a little bit about how I like to do that. But we are going to, again, let this rest one more time. And I'm going to cook off the dough in my pan. All right? All right. I will get this started.
Rachelle, we talked a little bit last week about sort of the idea of keeping a positive attitude and, staying strong and how wonderful cooking is for that as an outlet. And also, even if you're just I mean, we've now become, as we talked about before, a nation of home cooks. Everybody has to be a home cook on some level or other. And some of us, I cook a lot, and I'm weary of it. And people who don't cook a lot, I'm sure it's challenging. And
Absolutely.
you, of course, have to cook all the time. How do you, I mean, you're positive by nature, but how do you keep your focus and positivity going when there's so much external pressure like this?
You know, it's a good question. I mean, there was times this week where I think, you know, all of us, like there was times this week where I just felt it. You know, I really felt the weight of the world. But food is really fun. My husband cooks really beautifully. One of the things we talked about last time is don't throw people out of the kitchen. I really recommend to people if you like to cook and you're kind of the main cook, and there's somebody else that, you know, kind of wants to help, but maybe they're not that good or not that quick or whatever. I still, you know, I've been teaching cooking for so many years. I encourage everybody that wants to help. And, you know, don't worry if it slows things down or whatever. So I think that being in the kitchen, but boy, I understand. I mean, for a lot of people, this is so much work. And then you've got kids and pets and jobs or not at this point. So I have a lot of respect for how much work it is to shop and plan and cook. So I get it. I just try to, I cook all the time. And I'm really lucky that it's easy for me, but I don't take that for granted. And trust me, there's a lot of things that you all do really well that are not easy for me. So everybody's got their own power. So I've got this stretched out really nicely. And what I have here to explain, this is an induction hob. If you know me, I'm a huge, huge fan of electric kitchens. And I know that sounds so crazy. Most chefs are like all about gas. I'm all about electric. Electric has changed so much, and you're gonna see now where the electric car once was poo-pooed, electric kitchens are gonna start to get their love. And part of it is with induction. This works from a magnetic wave. This is one of my favorites. This is actually can be an app-driven pan. It's called the Heston Q, and it's one of my favorite toys in the world. I'm just using it as a regular induction burner. It sends magnetic waves up and it heats up my pan so fast, there's no equivalent in gas. It's unbelievable. So what I'm able to do, and you can certainly do this on any type of cooktop. You can do this on gas. I've heated up a cast iron pan, right? That is induction friendly. And I'm going to let this cook up from the bottom. I have it on a little bit less than medium heat. And I just love the idea of doing this. You're going to see more and more kitchens turn electric because they're going to stop putting gas lines in, not only for the environment, but it's also gives you so many incredible cooking options that you'll be shocked to know. So stick with me. I promise it's true. But while this is cooking up,
for those of you who don't know, I was just going to say that for those of you who don't know, Rachelle is known in the trade as the appliance whisperer. So she knows where she speaks.
I am. I'm an appliance expert, and I understand it's a controversial topic, but it won't be for long. It's pretty exciting. So what I'm doing is everybody's pan is going to cook at different times. It just depends on how thick your dough is. What I'm looking for is for this to solidify on the bottom. What's really nice is because I'm using induction, it's sending all the heat into the pan, so there's no residual heat around here, and that is really, really nice. And I'm just kind of thinning out the crust as I go. This can definitely happen in any type of pan that you want. Meanwhile, let me do this. Let me start building this. So the last part of my superpower story was, as I get ready to build one of these pizzas, was I got the passport into the hand, they took their trip, and then after they came back from Australia, I received a present. When I came to work at the Lucas home in San Anselmo, there was a box there. They gave me literally a cake. Great, right? And this is the really good part. It says super cookie. And I literally, I have a super cookie cape, and damn it, I'm going to wear it. We all have, I think, rediscovered certain things that maybe we forgot about or good at. Some people are drawing a little bit more. Some people have maybe dusted off those musical instruments. Certainly, people are in the kitchen a lot more. I literally have not seen this cape in 10 years. So thanks to you guys, I dusted off my super cookie cape. Pretty awesome. So thanks for reminding me about my super cookie cape. So look, I'm getting some nice color. Huh?
I said, I think
it is distracting color-wise, so I'll forego it right now. But I do have a cape. Who knew? Thank you, George. So I'm looking on the bottom of this. The other thing that you can do is if you have any type of oven, gas oven, electric, whatever it is you have, if it doesn't quite get hot enough or you don't have a pizza stone, there's a great hack that I figured out. I used to work at a youth program, and we didn't always have all the fancy things. So I turned over like a nice thick iron pan like this. You get it really hot in a 450-degree oven, and you can cook your pizzas right on here. And this makes your own kind of pizza oven hack. So that's a really wonderful thing. And what I'm going to do is just give this a little bit of a flip, okay? Because I'm going to cook it more on the other side, okay? I'm going to build one of these pizzas so we can eat something. I'll switch this out because I made some in advance, of course. Why not? And then what I've done is this one was done in the pan. I flipped it over. And then I'll just put this on fairly thick. I love this. And again, for crostini, this is a beautiful topping for crostini. Excellent.
And can you freeze that sauce, Rachelle?
You know, I would think that you can freeze it. Basil doesn't love to be frozen, but once it's in a sauce like this, it may do better. That's a really good question. I will freeze some as a tester.
It'd be great if you could freeze it.
But it's just, I know, right? There you go. Beautiful.
And what size pan are you? We have lots and lots of questions. What size pan are you using?
This, you know, that's a really good question. That looks to be maybe 14 inches. I better measure it. I don't know. Look at it. It's looking like a fluffy dough. Love it. That's a really good question. 12 or 14. Yeah, I think it's a 14 because it looks larger than 12. This is fresh mozzarella. You can use, you can do grated mozzarella or fresh. Yes, question?
Just if you would expand a little bit about the immersion blender and all of the fabulous things one can do with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me get this in here real quickly. But look, I've got a dough. I've got a dough.
Beautiful.
And yeah, I've got freaky chef hands. So don't mind me holding me very, you know, don't try it at home kind of thing. Yes, we'll talk about that. So here's my lovely pizza topping. I'm just going to do a little pecorino on this. The pecorino cheese has a really nice nutty sort of bite to it. It really adds a lot. If you are using induction, keep in mind, don't go too hot because it heats up so fast. I did this on like 3/4 power and just, oh no, it burned. So then you grab me a lid. I'm going to put this in and put a lid on it just to get a little bit of a melt, but it's a lot of fun. So yes, immersion blender. Love it. Thank you so much. Robert, Rob, in the house.
And then you started to talk a little bit about the electric stoves. And we have a question from Barbara who's asking about whether chefs, and I know they are, chefs are talking about electric stoves as the future, and gas for climate change reasons, for environmental reasons, that they're using more electric. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. I mean, what's really interesting is gas ranges were sold to us for many, many years, and they were great. They were more powerful. They did offer some great advantages. They do, however, offer a lot of disadvantages that we're used to. We're used to all that indoor air pollution. We're used to all that extra heat, and we just kind of accept that. Yes, there is a movement now where chefs and certainly designers are falling in love with induction for a lot of reasons, from a style point of view, but from a performance point of view, it's hands down my favorite. As the appliance whisperer, I worked for Sub-Zero Wolf, Mila, and I had the best, gas range right next to the best induction, and I would cook on both of them, and I completely fell in love with the power, the cleanliness, the look, the no extra heat. There's so many reasons that I fell completely in love with electric, and so that's when I became an electric kitchen super fan. So yeah, it's a long story, and it's something that people have to test out and try, but it's a lot of fun. So I'm just letting this finish up. I've actually turned the heat way down. I'll go up a little bit higher. All I'm doing now is crisping the bottom and just slightly melting that cheese. And then briefly about the immersion blender. The immersion blender, you can plug it in. You can blend up your whole pot of soup if you'd like. It's just so useful. Smoothies, I do them just like that. It's really easy in any kind of a deep cup. Be careful when you're blending something hot. Don't lift that thing out of the pot. We've all done that. At least I have. It splatters everywhere.
Guilty.
But they're very, very useful. If you want to make a super, super smooth pea puree, it is easier to do it in an actual blender and add in your creme fraiche and make it really, really smooth and blend up your mint. That's a little bit easier to make it very, very smooth. Does that answer that question?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I have another fun reveal. I don't know if those of you were here last time, but since last time, I found another way to stay really, really positive and have a little bit more fun in this lockdown. Let me show you my new cooking partner right here. Hi. We got a little kitty cat. So we like many other people, and yeah, I'll wash my hands. We adopted a beautiful, beautiful rescue pet. She's a ragdoll cat. She is amazing. Oh my God, she's a delight. Yeah, she loves to put on a show. So yes, adding a pet. My husband's not even allergic to her. I don't understand. She's a miracle. So we rescued a beautiful little cat, and like they say, they rescued us right back, right? So we're almost done with my little pizza. It's almost ready.
And tell us again, what was the temperature that you have that on? A medium, sort of a medium, or what's the temperature?
Yes. So one of the things that people struggle with when they first get used to induction is you can't see the flame, right? But it's very easy to start to get used to the marks here. So I have it on a medium right now. If I go, I'm going to go a little bit higher because it goes like lightning. So the speed and efficiency of induction is something to get used to, trust me, but I'm used to it and I love it. So I will get this out. I'm going to top it as soon as it comes out. I'm going to add a little bit more mint on top. So if you do a crostini or something like that, you can put a little bit more mint. And then some of these beautiful little sprigs. You can add, I have these strawberries just because it's that time of year. Why not? With the snack. You can add, if you'd like, a little bit of truffle oil, or even better, like a Meyer lemon oil on top. Oh yeah. I turned that baby up and it is smoking. It goes really fast. So for people that like to do wok cooking, super high cooking, be ready. All right, now I'll top it with a little bit of mint, but the mint is going to be absolutely last. Okay, because I want it to stay really bright and fresh. Then I'll put a little bit more pecorino on here. I like to just do the little shave. Little shaved pecorino. Oh, it's looking good.
And you really could do all kinds of things on there, couldn't you? I mean, besides oils, and you could do a little pancetta possibly, or yeah.
There is a wonderful small shop in Noe Valley called All of This, All of That. She has the greatest oils, and her Meyer lemon oil, when I run out of it, I can't cook. I swear to you, I'm like, I get completely emotionally blocked. She also has this traditional dark 12-year balsamic. I can zhuzh a little of that on the plate for a little bit of tanginess. A little bit more mint.
And I'm assuming you normally serve this as an appetizer, or is it's usually an appetizer?
This can be an appetizer. It can be straight up pizza. And I'm going to put a whole big pile of these greens. I did have, speaking of cheering up, Tuesday, I kind of had the locked in blues. All of a sudden, I get a knock on my door and I'm like, what? My neighbor, my new neighbor, is the head grower for this vertical farm called Plenty.
Connections. Wow.
Oh my God, that's my new neighbor. Amazing. And so he gave me these spectacular greens. Yes, with proper social distancing. He left them there. Like, what? It cheered me up like nobody's business. So we need a little bit of this. That's beautiful. But I'll get her done.
That's because of what you put out there. That's what you put out there in the world, Rachelle. It comes back to you.
Well, I did tell him that I thought it was so cool what he does. If you've never, seen a vertical farm before, they're amazing. They're not out to compete with or fight with the farmers. They're just working on other ways to get more fresh produce to people. Okay? And a little bit of fancy salt, like Maldon. It's a very beautiful, chunky salt. And then I'll get that out of the way so you can see my pizza. Okay, now.
So fresh
and then this is my favorite. This is her beautiful, I have that clean cutting board. Oh no, just kidding. Da-da-da-da. Why not use heat? Look how crispy. Yeah, love it. All right, and I'll just do one more little zhuzh. This, by the way, is just a lightly damp cloth or a paper towel underneath my board. It keeps it from sliding all around. And then we'll do a little zhuzh of this 12-year balsamic. Why not? I know, Drew, you had a wine suggestion for me. I know you represent Placer County and the beautiful wines and things from there. What do you got for me, sir?
I'm trying to unmute him, and I'm not. There you go, Drew. You're out. You're up.
Hi, Drew.
Hi. Actually, since we were talking about this for a first course appetizer, I wanted to do something fun, and I was looking in Sonoma, over in Sonoma County, Vizsla Vineyards. They've been growing the Prosecco grape, which goes all the way back to the 16th century. They're one of the only vineyards in California to grow the actual Prosecco grape and make Prosecco. And they're in Sonoma. And since it was also a favorite of Pliny the Elder in his travels, who is one of my favorite beers from Russian River Brewing. So it all kind of tied in. So
I've never even had it.
Let's go with Prosecco from Sonoma County, because there's no Prosecco in Placer County.
I love it. I have a lot of chef friends. I'm very, very lucky. You don't have to know it all. You just have to know a bunch of chefs. Just kidding. Cool. So can you see that? I can hold it up. Is that better? Hey.
It's beautiful.
So whether you are going to make fresh dough from the beginning, go ahead, have at it. You can get the flour. Whether you are going to just take a pre-made dough, which is fantastic. I hope I gave you some good tips on how to handle that. And if none of that, just make the dang puree and have fun with it. It's delicious.
Beautiful, Rachelle. And we actually do have another question about that. Mika is asking, because they don't have basil sprouts or pea sprouts in Japan,
Sure.
can she substitute broccoli sprouts for them, or should she just put minced leaves of basil?
Absolutely. You can put any sprouts or no sprouts at all. It's kind of like, I never bet a pizza I didn't like. A little bit like that. It's fun to have lots of beautiful salad. You can just put, certainly, I didn't even put my basil sprouts. Heaven to Murgatroyd.
Thank you, Mika.
Just gilding the lily here, people. You can skip it entirely, or you can put a little arugula. One of the things that my plenty neighbor, head farmer, gave me was also a beautiful box of arugula. It was spectacular. So you can skip the greens entirely and just make the puree and find some great uses for it.
Well, it's just beautiful. Thank you so much. And I don't think we have any other questions, but speaking of people who put wonderful things out in the world, she's back, Michela.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for enjoying tonight's salon. I could hear in the background as I was serving dinner, and successfully was able to do that for her 22nd. And now of course they're off at the shore distancing with each other, her boyfriend. Yeah, and like we believe that. Anyway, thank you so much, and that just looks delectable. So easy for me to come right back at the end and I see this gorgeous pizza with these greens, and really, really wonderful. And it's great to have you, Rachelle, to be able to punctuate what, we go from. Hopefully all of the speakers give each of you ideas and inspiration and hope and positivity, because that's what it's meant to be. So even sometimes when it feels like the topic has this gravitas that is just so powerful that it's hard, it always pulls through to the positive. Always about what is it that we can find in every situation. And our next week's speaker is no different. My friend and Shelley's and my colleague Bruce Mao, the founder of Massive Change Network, the man who redesigned Mecca with a drone and a golf cart because he's not Muslim, the man who is redoing New York Medicaid, the man who has written 150 books with other notable design thinkers around the world, is going to be our guest next week with a preview of his new book, not out until the end of June, called MC24. Massive Change 24, meaning the 24 principles of massive change. These are not professorial. They're not ideas that are steeped in lingo or in some rigor that is really above anybody. They are very down-to-earth principles. In fact, Shelley and I were remarking today as we were preparing for the invite that actually, if you still look at this progression of collective conscience salons and the Thank You Project and Magic in the Mundane and the Hope Experiment and all this, and now this, it is all tied together, all of it, so that we, from all of our different geographies and beliefs and walks of life, that we find unifying thoughts and ideas that are collectively our conscience. So please do join us next Monday for Bruce Mao. You will be getting links.
Don't miss it.
Yeah, don't miss this. And other ideas about how to get to know a little bit of his work before you see him next Monday. The good news is we've asked him to present and take over our screens for the first 15 minutes so that you don't feel like, well, I still don't know who this guy is or what this means. You will know, but we'll also lead you up to it. So again, thank you so much for joining us and giving us an hour of your time to start your week. Hopefully you're finding it nourishing energizing, and just plain fun and interesting. Thank you so very much. Enjoy your week.
Thank you for coming. Thanks, Rachelle.
Michelle.
Bye-bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye.
Good week.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.